though my parents were not philanthropists, they were active in the church and they were active with their time in the communities. They were huge volunteers. They made available for my brothers and I experiences as a family to volunteer in the community, and that was just part of what we did as a family. It wasn't like an expectation. It wasn't something we were supposed to go out and do on our own. It was often how we spent free time together. It was volunteering out in the community for a wide variety of different organizations, particularly the arts. So that's how I would say I got my footing in the field of caring for others, so to speak, or love of others. But when I went to college, I wanted to work on a large scale in some way, and so I went to Capitol Hill and became a research associate for a bipartisan caucus. And I could see where I could make a contribution to things of social importance by staying part of the policy arena. When I got to Capitol Hill, and I worked there for a few years, I was frustrated in my early 20s with the speed upon which public policy formed. So I went into fundraising for a major university and really enjoyed it, but I could also see value on the other side of the fence, so to speak. And so after I had spent some time fundraising for a couple of arts organizations, I was invited to join a corporate foundation in Chicago, and they gave me responsibility for their public affairs division, their corporate giving program, and their private foundation. And what I did is I pulled the whole thing together in a system and took it global. Because that was their presence, that was their footprint, and that was in the mid-'80s, the mid to late '80s, and that was different for that point in time. Kind of thinking about it systemically and looking for interdependent, interconnecting parts, and involving employees, involving social, grant making for social issues that had some meaning and relevance to the corporation that was taking shareholder equity and placing it out into the community. From there, I went to Whirlpool. I talked a little bit about the initiatives there around women and families. And while we were doing that work, one of our trustees was head of KitchenAid and said, why don't you come join the P&L side of the business, the sales and marketing side, and help us make the money that the foundation's giving away. I knew nothing about sales management, brand management, marketing management. She gave me a $220 million P&L, the entire cooking business globally for KitchenAid brand, and it was one of those, just dive in. My first assignment was a cross-category new product launch, and at that time, the company was doing product launches only by single categories. We sort of said, well, let's take this from the consumer's point of view. Let's go to the customer's point of view. Kind of like we've gone out to ask the beneficiaries of our grant-making program. I wanted to always, listen to the person that we were there to serve. And in doing so, it was, at that time, wildly different. First ever, the team did an amazingly great job and got additional responsibility, went on to Boston, ran both corporations, $300 million global P&L for their loudspeaker business, went on to Copenhagen, Denmark, and ran a Bluetooth headset company. And so just really did different things. But all the time that the 12 or 15 years that I had hopped out of day-to-day philanthropy is when I broadened my philanthropic role. So I no longer was a fundraiser or a grant maker. I became a trustee, and I became a donor. My husband and I set up an endowment at our community foundation at the time, and involved our 4 daughters in our grant making. We have an annual family meeting, and we would together take a portion of what we gave annually and decide together. So it was through those experiences that actually brought me back full-time to philanthropy, and I had the pleasure in 2007 through 10 to serve as president of North Shore Foundation, which was an operating foundation for a healthcare system. And after the team raised about $50 million through the Great Recession, I wanted to really devote the rest of my life to philanthropy, and the only way I could really sort of ratchet up my service, and through really a service calling that I felt at that time and still do, with 30 years of experience in all 3 sectors and wearing the variety of philanthropy hats, I knew I had something to share that others might benefit from. And that was really the catalyst for founding Venture Free Philanthropy. the genesis of the name of the company was catalyzed by what's happening in the field. That it is a big adventure out there, and there's a lot of risk to it, and there is a lot of hybrid work happening at the intersection of the three sectors, and a lot of the growth and prosperity for making a difference in this world, I think, is going to come through a lot of these new innovations. And I wanted to be a part of it, and I wanted to be part of making a modest contribution to it by, catalyzing and empowering and inspiring families and their vision.